The fuck is up, y'all? Welcome to the party. Welcome to
back.
the party.
We're back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Yeah, we got some early chatters here.
Yeah, we do.
Welcome, crew.
And thanks to 400 CTYA for the gifted sub to the community.
Wow, what a gentleman.
He gave it right to Dasma Deep.
Oh.
Dasma Deep.
Desmond deep in the chat.
Welcome, everyone. This is episode 44 of the Producer's Lounge. This is our show. It's a little live podcast thing we do, and we sit here and talk about music production.
Mm-hmm.
It goes all over the place all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always, you know, we're just bullshitting around, talking about what's on our mind, what's happening in our music brains, what's happening in the music universe.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we shoot the shit.
Yeah, and we love questions.
Yeah, feel free
Anyone
to ask
that has questions about
I hate
how to get their
questions,
mixes better, how to whatever.
Yep. How to make a
us-
kick that punches you in the chest.
Yeah, certain sound or,
It's true.
Yeah.
you know, any kind of melodic, whatever.
Yeah, any questions are great. We like chatting about random stuff and helping
Yeah.
fellow producers out.
Helps the show move along, too, for us.
Yeah, it's a great
Feels
time.
a little bit more productive.
Yeah.
Productive. Because we produce. Okay. All right. Thank you. Well, does anybody have a tip of the week they want to share? If not, I'll pull something out of the hat. We do kind of need like a hat here. Maybe that's what we put in the center. And
That'd be kind of fun.
We just have topics in there.
Yeah. Or you get some sort of machine that just like shoots out one little sliver.
Right. Or you push a
something.
button like you're at the DMV and it pushes out a ticket. And you're like, oh, drum processing.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah, it's a classic.
Tip of the week.
Yeah.
I can bullshit.
I'm sure it'll evolve.
Yeah. That's what I mean. So, one thing you hear about people doing a lot in podcasts or whatever is doing like separate sessions for sound design or versus their creative time versus their mixing time.
Yep.
Or whatever. I would say definitely like this is kind of lower level advice because if you're decently a ways along, you probably already figured this out. But just spending time working on a specific type of thing that you want to get better at. So like drums are an obvious like one to go to. Every once in a while, you need like a little bit of a little season of time where you're just really grinding on getting your drums better, getting your bass sounds better.
You have it in the crosshair. You're looking. Yeah. You're purposely tunnel visioning yourself to try and focus on a specific thing you want to get better at.
Yeah.
I've done that hundreds of times with a bunch of different things.
Yeah. Because you can always get better.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
there's
you can-
always room for improvement.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it can definitely help if you're like writing a track and it's like, okay, and you're like, man, I really just want to like work on drums. And then you work on drums pretty heavily for like 4 months. And then you write another track and you're like, wow, the difference is just astonishing from that last track, like full track I wrote to this full track I wrote.
Right.
Just doing a couple months of like watching videos on drum processing, like really experimenting and kind of going beyond what you normally would. Like when you normally just bringing in a snare sample and you don't care to make your own, try it. Maybe try it for like 2 months. Be like, all right, I'm going to sit down for half an hour to an hour a day and just fuck around trying to make snares, even though I don't really care to. Doesn't really do anything, or you don't think it will, to help your production. Next thing you know, you love making snares.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. Also, spending a good session of making a bunch of the same thing will do you a lot of good. Like, go and make 10 snares in a row, and by the end of that, you're going to have a little bit better hold on, like, oh, these are kind of the moves that seem to get me the thing that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You know?
It's really helpful. And this goes into a little real life example of this. Learning how to like make a new genre. Like, you know, you're used to making hip hop or bass music or whatever, or dubstep, and you're like, I want to learn how to make house. Totally different genre. It's still electronic, but like going from rhythm bass lines to a house bass line, especially like a tech house. What I did personally, and it helped me loads, is I would just sit down every day and just have a template where I just had like a house beat, whether it was a sample, didn't really matter. The drums were of no consequence. What I was focusing on was bass lines. So I would just have an 8-bar section and then a little bit of space, 8-bar section, a little bit of space, 8-bar section, a little bit of space, and all of them would have the same drums, and I would just write like a quick off the top of my head bass line with any patch, didn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just, I wouldn't think too hard. I'd just be like, doom, 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 doom. Cool. Like, listen to it for a little bit, maybe change a note. Okay, cool. Move on to the next one. Pick a new key, doesn't really matter. Just write a whole new bass line with the exact same patch. And just do that over and over and over and over and over again. You have like 30. But by the end, you're starting to get the groove of where the notes kind of really need to sit to kind of get the swing down and kind of like where you like the groove to be. And you do that for several months, and next thing you know, it's second nature to write like at least a decent bass line for a house track out of the gate, which it's like 40% of the track is the bass line. When it comes to like a tech house track, it's like so much is just that bottom end and how it grooves and how it interacts with the kicks. And you can't just be like, I'm gonna make house now, and just start making house tracks and expect to get anything good immediately. Like, you're gonna have to hyper focus on elements you're not used to making all the time.
Right.
Which again, if you just put it in your crosshairs, focus, and just buckle down, you know?
Yep. Yeah, maybe you're just focusing on reverb, you know? Like, there's been times where I just really wanted to get my reverbs sounding really nice, which, you know, grouping it, having it in parallel, and then trying to add things before and after the reverb, messing with compression or saturation on the reverb, all that kind of thing. And now I've got pretty good reverb game out here.
Yeah,
Let's go.
And delay. Those definitely, both of those take, like, there's a beginner zone where you kind of throw it on and you're just like, oh, it makes it sound so much cooler.
Cool.
And then once you get out of that beginner zone, you realize like, oh, everything was so sloshed in reverb, I couldn't hear anything. And then you kind of are in the intermediate zone, which is what you're talking about, where you kind of have to experiment. You have to sit there and fuck around and find out what happens when you compress the reverb, or when you like throw the delay throw into a second room that it's in, as opposed to the dry signal to help kind of pop that delay or whatever. Like, you come up with all these fun little tricks, and then you start applying them. Man,
Right.
big sheesh.
And it's so healthy to just work your brain in that way, where you sit down and just experiment with reverbs and experiment with bass lines. It's almost like a exercise of some sort, if you want to look at it like that.
Right.
Maybe that turns some people off thinking about it like that, but that's how I think about it a lot.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I can give it more of an experiment, like I'm in the lab. I'm
Right?
like, oh,
Yeah.
I need to try and
practice,
make
baby.
this chemical again.
Yeah. And after you've like played around enough, you kind of know what's going to happen if you do certain things. So when you're in that, like, the heat of the moment of like the writing process of your track, you just know, like, oh, I want to try that one reverb thing I learned the other day, or that weird pitching thing or whatever thing you were playing with.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as long as you keep practicing and like experimenting in those ways, you're gonna constantly have bits and tricks to like pull out of your tool bag at any given moment while you're working on a track.
Yep.
Because you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that thing I did last week that didn't work, but in this way, if I try it with this thing, it'll work better, I bet. And if you've done it enough, you know, you have a little bit of a roadmap, and you're able to get from A to B a lot easier.
Right.
Which is good. It only really comes with practice.
Yeah. There was this cool reverb trick that John showed me the other week. And basically, you just have like a parallel reverb, and you're controlling the input gain into the reverb. and you can kind of time it based. So let's say you have like a little bass yoink, whatever, and it's like this long. You can kind of play around with where the reverb starts and ends, and then have it like kind of send out. Yeah. And you can like change the tone of the reverb with the vowels of the bass or like whatever frequencies are like present there. And like that, it's just like one of those little things that you like wouldn't really notice listening to the song, but it like makes such a huge difference.
Oh yeah.
It's the send knob.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the send knob idea.
You have a volume knob that goes before the reverb, so you can tell exactly where to use the reverb. Like often it's a good thing to take the reverb, like not have the reverb hitting wherever that transient is. Like have the reverb ignore the transient and just grab the body. And you get more of like it won't be as high end and like muddying up your high end kind of thing.
Yeah.
Those sorts of situations.
You'll have less ringing. Also, what you can do is you can make it more dynamic with the way you're letting the reverb in. Like it's not just on or off, and then it's like, bah, now there's reverb. It can be more of a swell into the reverb throw. Granted, this goes into a little bit deeper where you can like do the reverb and then flatten it down, and now you have just the wet reverb, and now you can fade it and do a bunch of other things to it. And
Totally.
stuff like that. But that's kind of how that starts, and that's how you get the reverb game dialed in.
Dude, fucking gotta have your reverb game strong these days.
Restraint in the chat over here asking for the air horn. We should have an air horn.
Yeah,
like bits or whatever.
Speak of
whatever that shit means.
Diablo. Is that a question right
Diablo.
there?
Yeah. McDub says, "What do you all start with when making a beat? Drums, lead, vocal line, general viber, etc."
Great question, Mo. Thank you for that.
Take it away, Austin.
So something we've been experimenting with lately is we started a goat farm, actually. Many people don't know it. What we do, it's kind of brutal, so get ready, guys. Every week we skin a new goat, design our own little drum head or tom head or some weird percussive bit, record those ourselves,
Of course.
get a nice little sample pack going, and instant sauce, Wow! I know. It's magic.
I don't know if you guys knew this.
The most strange answer you could have ever given.
On the other side of this wall is like our goats. Like they're like right outside that wall is a farm.
Yeah. The amount of soundproofing it took to keep them quiet, good Lord.
Yeah, it's a lot. But
Yeah,
we
it's
also
a
feed
move,
them
though.
really well.
It's triple walled back there
Yeah.
with spacers in between. I mean, it's crispy clean sound in here.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's wild.
But it's cool because now we have an infinite stream of new samples to choose from
Yeah,
each
it's
week.
True.
And goat milk.
And a bunch of goat milk,
Yeah, it's actual milk as opposed to oat water.
Yeah.
Oat tea, I guess.
But that's one of the weird things we started doing lately, There are easier methods than starting a goat farm to make beats.
For me, it's like 80% of the time it's drums. I always start with drums. I can't help it. I hear a kick or a snare or a hi-hat and it's fucking on.
You're like, that's the chosen
on
one.
like Donkey Kong, yeah.
Ooh.
And then 20% of the time it's general vibe.
Mo.
If I was
What
gonna
if goats aren't
General
native
vibe?
to my area?
God damn it.
honestly,
I mean, a greenhouse could do a good job.
Sure.
what other small farm animals do you have in your area, McDubs?
Yeah, any skin works, It doesn't have to be goats.
Oh, first time chat.
I think
You came at a great
with
time.
with the spicy comment.
I'm
over
pretty
here.
sure that's not the first time somebody said I look like Logic.
Yeah, I think that's
I
true.
think that's true. I'll take
Who
it.
knew?
Logic's
Who
a
knew?
beautiful man.
Yeah.
Hang a
I
rap
mean-
like a motherfucker.
He might not
Hashtag
be a logic, but he is a logician. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He's more of a reason kind of guy.
I will start with whatever the fuck is interesting at the moment. Oftentimes, I want to do drums because these days I'm typically aiming for something when I start. So the drums is kind of the easiest thing to lay down without knowing what
Right.
the rest is going to be.
Right.
But then again, sometimes I just want to work on a melodic thing and make that the thing that I kind of draw from. But I usually don't work that roughly, per se.
Yeah. I had this phase for a while where I would save the kick till the last moment, and I would start. Dude, it was so great because if you start with like the top end percussion or some more rhythmic elements, you get a little groove going. Then you drop in the snare. You know, that's in an obvious spot usually. Same spot in all of dance music typically.
Yep.
4/4.
And
Yep.
yeah, right. So you have this like little groove going, and then you finally drop the kick in, and it's so goddamn satisfying because you drop in just one and let it chill, and it sounds good, you know. Then maybe you place another, maybe make a little break beat.
Yeah, I mean, I'll ride with a hi-hat loop for a long time.
Yeah,
like,
you can.
Far into the track, it's just or just like the simplest little loop, and I'm not even intending on keeping it. You know, I just needed a general vibe to get in there.
General vibe.
And
he's over there in fucking Ukraine, dude.
yeah, general
General
vibe
vibe.
is in Ukraine, dude. He's
Fucking
out
bringing
there
the vibe.
kicking it out.
Yeah.
That's a current event reference for you guys.
Damn. Wow. Yeah, we watch the news,
General
guys.
vibe.
We don't
General
just
vibe.
make beats.
And yeah, like I'll let it ride for a while, and then I'll like replace the hi-hat when I care.
Let the hi-hat ride. I see. Oh, that was a fucking teamwork.
I know,
sound effect
right?
Ew.
Little double banger.
Um,
Yeah, and that's
Oh,
another one of
hook
those
line
things where
from-
it's like
From NYC up in the chat
fucking
right
hook
here.
line. Shit, bruh.
it's not DJ Hookline though. It's Hookline ZH.
We're saucing it up.
Oh.
Sheesh.
Oh.
Is that a new account? Is that a?
Or is that off-brand hook line?
Is that a?
Me.
Is it a
Okay.
Smurf? Are you Smurfing right now?
It him.
Yeah, he's on a Smurf account
he's on a
right now.
Smurf account, of course.
Is that
But-
what people call throwaway accounts? Smurf account?
Yeah, it's like your other account that you know, play differently on,
Nice.
if you will. So for me, I know most of the time what I'm writing. Like it's either house or it's halftime, or it's like maybe it's drum and bass, but it's either like a halftime like hip hop style bass something, or it's house, which could also mean techno. So it's pretty easy for me to start with drums.
Yeah.
Because I kind of know where it's going to go pretty quickly. If the kick sounds like a house kick, I guess I'm writing house. Like it's just kind of like, okay, here we go. Now I'm in the headspace. Like it's pretty instant little thing. Plus I'm like trying to write a bunch of house.
Yeah.
So my brain is like, don't waste any time. Write more house.
Right.
I'm
The
like,
thing you're
okay.
pushing for.
Okay,
you know?
I'll write more house.
Yeah, it's been happening to me a lot lately where I have like a 90s hip hop pack, and I always fucking go back into it just because I love the tones of like the dusty old kicks and like tight snares and shit. Yeah, and then I just end up like making fucking like 90s hip hop, like boom bap type shit, which is sick. I love it, but
in my opinion, that's some of the best stuff you can write to get just better at writing just beats. And not beats in the traditional, like, I'm a beat producer, I write beats and I sell them. Like, no, I'm just saying in general, like they beats for dubstep, beats for breakbeat, beats for house.
General
like,
beats?
Yeah, just general beats. Like, just a boom bap
Where's
beat.
our American fucking
I know, right?
soundboard?
What we need is an eagle.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
an eagle, dude.
Yeah.
Or you guys like remix the national anthem into a Party B banger?
Or remix America Fuck Yeah.
Hey, what's up, 432?
What up, dog?
Oh, he's back.
In the chizzy.
Welcome back, homie.
Accurate
Cheesy.
says, am I the only one that doesn't start with the drop? And I just start with the beginning.
Oh, dude,
Every
fuck
time I
starting
start
with
my
the drop.
my songs sound bad.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you there.
Yeah,
I
me
cannot do it.
Woo! Oh my
What's
goodness.
that?
Loud.
Sheesh, 432 just gifted a sub.
Oh,
to
Again?
us.
Didn't you gift one last week? Damn,
Oh my
homie.
goodness, look at this guy. Thanks.
Generosity.
Big ups, bruh.
Big ups, man.
Also, congrats, Russ. Because of that, we might have to open Bitwig.
I love that Russ
know?
is here.
Oh my goodness, what?
McDouble's coming in.
What is happening here? It's a war now, dude.
Gifted to Big
One
Daddy
gets
Restraint.
gifted, and
Oh.
then starts the little train going.
I know, right? Do we have a hype
Who
train
is
going?
Restrained? I've seen him in the chat here
Yeah.
on and off. Hey,
He's
man.
one of those new mumble rap guys, right?
I
He
think
definitely
so.
hasn't been on the
He's popping
podcast
up.
recently.
No.
At Restraint paid for. Oh.
Call
yes.
him out.
Very good.
Call him out.
That's
So funny.
That's call out.
Yeah, Aquit. Sorry, we're never gonna get your name right.
Yep.
Starting with drops is my nightmare. I've seen so many people do it. Like, for whatever reason, it seems like a bunch of dudes in like the rhythm scene are just really good at that. Because I guess they just love really abrasive sounds right off the bat. It's their
Yeah.
whole thing. They're just good at it, and they can like work on that little like super loop for so long. But I cannot. I have to have like some sort of like tension and release piece. Like, I like to start with an intro, maybe like a verse with the beat, and it's like building energy and then taking away, and
Yeah.
then you can slowly like it just slowly builds, and then you're like, okay, fucking drop time. Let's just slam
Yeah.
something in there, see what
Yeah.
happens.
That's definitely how I write halftime stuff. I'll like usually like come up with a vibe. I almost said it again.
That
Just-
Jenner.
Just a vibe, just like a lieutenant, you know. And
No, wouldn't it be like a what is like a lower ranking?
like a private.
Yeah,
Lieutenant.
private or a cadet.
I
You
don't
start
know
with
how
a
these
cadet.
things work.
I don't either.
Look, we're not in the army, guys. Obviously,
Yet.
that's work for the general.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I'm writing like halftime and stuff, it usually is because I'm starting with like a vibe, and then it just kind of formulates into the thing that becomes the intro, or is the drop, but isn't like full potential. But I'll kind of like, oh, that kind of looks like the main thing. I'll push that aside and then start working on what happens before I get to it. But when it comes to like house or techno, I start with a 16-bar loop, and it gets
Yeah, I was gonna
everything.
say I kind of just
It
start
becomes-
with a groove.
Yeah, but that groove becomes the drop,
It's
the
like
break.
everything, yeah.
It becomes everything. You just deconstruct everything out of it
Yeah.
Right.
as you begin to lay it out. Once the loop is good and running.
Hey,
Yeah.
Hookline knows. DJ Hookline.
Hey,
now.
DJ
He gets it.
Hookline,
Wow,
he's back.
he changed his name.
Oh, damn.
That's so fast.
Oh, did they make you feel embarrassed, Hook Line?
What happened?
I mean,
I'll beat him
I
up
like
after
the
the show
ZH.
for you, Hookie.
what was it? ZH? I didn't mind the ZH.
You know.
When's my
Zoo.
phone? Apparently, I see.
This guy's moving. He's in New York. That's what they do. They're just
Shaking and
on the
moving.
road, you know.
Just. Hey, I'm walking here.
Hey, I'm walking here.
Making beats
do
over
not-
here, huh?
Sound like
That's such a good TikTok.
We do not say that.
right.
Right, it's so good.
Check TikTok, guys.
Yeah. You
For
guys
you page,
know.
you know.
You guys know. So,
Oh wait, I got one.
okay.
Before we can consult the list, the gold list.
Pick
Well,
out from
someone-
All
that.
I'd
right,
say.
yeah, let's go.
Something I've been thinking about is the classic saying of subtract on your EQs instead of boost.
Mm-hmm.
More often than not, like, of course, we all know there is a time and place.
For sure.
Yeah, right. And that was something that was always like weird to me in the beginning. Is like, oh, but you're like taking out sound. I want like a big full sound. And so in your little baby producer brain mind, you're like, fucking boost everything, slam it, or
Right,
like whatever kind of thing.
hear it.
Yeah,
Can't hear
crank the volume.
Yeah.
But yeah, just subtractive EQing, like clean up that low end. You can clean up the mids a lot. It's surprising how much mid range you can like actually just cut, even like a little shelf or like a little dip,
Yep.
because there's so much like important information in like that section that's like very important to like tone and melodic component. Because then like high end is just like the tss, tss,
Sure.
and then sub, you know. So like all the important information is right there in the mid range. So it's essential to cut a lot of that shit out. Cut
Yeah.
out the bullshit.
True.
One way I've kind of been thinking about it is I cut on individual tracks, and I boost on groups.
Interesting. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do
That's
that.
the general. God damn it!
It's gonna be one of those nights.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those nights. That's the general rule.
Didn't work the first time I pushed it.
Yeah.
Weird.
Fucking finger drummer's nightmare.
Right.
Why didn't the loop start when I pushed the
Right,
button?
yeah.
Oh God, oh no.
Fucking USB 2.0. So, yeah, and that's obviously that's not, 100% all the time, but
Sure.
most of the time I'm like on if I bring in a random hi-hat sample, like I cut out everything under 100 just as like a general
Rule.
yeah, just as a general rule. And like then I have a bunch of hi-hats that I'll have the bottom ends that they don't need, and they're kind of tailored up at the top end, whether I'm cutting them down because I don't want all that splashiness, or I'm boosting slightly that top end while cutting out of the 2K. But then when I put an EQ on the whole group of the hi-hats, now I can kind of boost up, 1K or boost up 500 and start kind of yanking some of that stuff out that I cut out. But now it's pulling it out of everything equally. And it's, it's just easier for me to mix in once I know like what every EQ's job is on average. Aha, aha.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a move.
A good way to think about EQing subtractively is if you have let's say you have a sound, you need it to be more pronounced in your mix, and you would boost at 700 or whatever. Not likely the hertz you're gonna boost at, but whatever. So whatever you want to boost in a spot, instead of boosting in a spot, you do 2 down on either side of it. So you pull away frequencies on either side of that portion that you want to pronounce, and you will get essentially the same thing. It's kind of the same.
Totally.
And you don't have to be super aggressive about it or anything.
Right. Instead of making a mountain, you're just putting a moat on either side of it.
Yeah, if I were to boost, typically I will do boosts that are more wide boosts, unless it's like in sound design. We're not even talking about that.
Right, we're not talking about
that's a
that.
whole other thing.
But yeah, I would boost like a bigger area, like 100 to 300 or 400 or like, a wide band, just general kind of lift or something like that could work. But like there's a reason.
General lift.
General lift.
Or I guess technically general kind of lift, but it's his long name. That's what it is.
I didn't really hit it on the name front very well on that one. Pushing up a bigger area is really nice. Putting down on either side of a thing can be very nice. And then I don't remember what the other thing I was going to say was. I don't know where I was going with that.
Going into the
Not
sound
high,
design.
I promise.
Yeah, we don't smoke weed over here, guys. Come on. We're sober.
They want us to talk about mid-side EQ, I think. Slightly.
Was that a question in there?
They just made a couple comments.
Here, wait, before we go there, I want to add one more thing to the subtractive. Going into the sound design range, you can be a lot more expressive, which is, you kind of brought that up a little bit. And something fun to do is if you're ever making like a formant filter, typically with filters, they always have peaks that are emphasizing the vowels and like certain frequencies, but you can get the same effect by just subtractive EQing and like pulling away exactly how you were saying and like putting emphasis somewhere else and like pulling away in other spots creates like the same exact effect.
It probably works really well that way.
It's basically polarity.
Shout out John for that one.
It's basically, if I'm not incorrect, that's just like different polarity on a comb filter. Because a comb filter's got either, peaks or boosts going in whatever direction. And on most comb filters, there's a polarity button, and it just swaps all those peaks and valleys. So if you think about what you're EQing actively, like you're like, all right, I want to get this sound out of there, so I'm going to subtract on either side or whatever. Like, see what happens when you reverse that. Like you can even just duplicate the EQ and grab those things and like, just opposite. And that again is a little more sound designy, but that's kind of stuff that I think about all the time.
Right. Yeah.
It's like how mathematical can I get
Totally.
with this right now,
Yeah.
because that always ends up with some good results.
I saw AU5 do somewhat of a similar thing when he wants vocals to stand out in a mix. He'll pull out like mid-range or whatever in his bass line or pads or whatever's going on at that moment, and then put that EQ on the vocals and do like the polarity flip kind of thing where you flip everything. So yeah, so then you get a dip in that one little section where you want to cut the bass, and then you boost it there a little bit with the vocals.
Right.
But you got to be subtle, because like when you're playing around with the vocals, like you don't want to overdo it.
And I'm sure it's automated, so he has either that EQ wet dry, those two EQs like wet dry on and off together, or
Sure.
just the whole device turns on and off together.
Yeah.
So when the vocal, I guess the vocal just when it comes in, it has the EQ on it.
Sure.
But the bass then responds to the vocal coming in with its EQ, kind of stuff.
All right.
Yeah, that's all like beyond even mid-side EQ is just automating your EQ. Like I never thought about that.
It's useful.
It's so useful.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole other space to get your head in. And it's more work,
Yep.
but produces better results.
Yeah. Don't be
Everything's-
a lazy producer.
Everything's
It's
more
the worst thing you could
controlled.
do.
You can you should almost automate like everything to a certain point, because you just have so much control.
You get more movement that way.
Sounds more
It sounds
organic.
more organic. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's the vibe.
But 432 Hertz said Skrillex uses mid-side EQ a lot to cut with, and I responded, mid-side EQ is Bay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not wrong.
And it's not just for cutting; it's for adding or whatever.
Cutting, boosting,
like
automating.
I honestly, a lot of times will go in and pull out, like, if you have like a sound that's kind of mid-rangey, but it's also pretty wide in the mix already, you can go in and take the mid, kind of like the node of that sound out, and still have it very present, but not hogging a bunch of headroom.
Because the width of this, the wider the sound, the less midtones it's going to have.
Yeah,
that you can perceive for the most part, but those mids are still there. They're just getting clogged up with everything else that's happening in the mid. So that super wide sound, you can sit there while you're listening to it and kind of start pushing the mids down. And then once you hear the whole kind of thing change, you can just like bring the mids back in until you don't hear anything different. And you'll be amazed how many mids you dropped out.
Yeah.
And how
clean
much,
those mids up.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Leave room for the vocal, for instance, or whatever lead sound that's going to be occupying that space as well. And you could do the vice versa version of that, where you're pulling out the wide stuff that you don't need. I love going on my master and putting a mid side on there and just sweeping a bell around, ducking like sections of the sides, just to hear like, is there somewhere where my mix is just getting fucked by the sides? And it will, you'll hear some things where you're like, oh damn, like this is shit right in this area for some reason.
Yeah, there's a bunch of like a pile up
Right.
of sounds you can't really perceive.
It's at like 500 hertz, and you're just like, oh, it just sounds good if I take the mids away right there a little bit less. Or I go back and actually find where that issue is and fix it at the source.
Yeah.
Which is the right way to do it.
And a lot of times when you do, you'll find, like you said, you get like more headroom almost immediately. And you're like, wow, it sounds like thinner, but then you can boost up your bass. You can make the kick a little bit louder. Your snare can have more body. You get all these
You just
options
hear all
open
those
up.
things more automatically.
Right. It's
even.
more accurate.
Yeah.
It's more accurate.
Accurate.
Accurate, dude.
It's more accurate.
Midside's sick.
Yeah, mid-side is sick.
Trying to think of another thing for like a mid-side thing.
Playing with left-right independently can yield some kind of cool results.
Well, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, that's one I don't see like often, if ever.
I'll use it for like more of a sound designy thing.
Sure.
I guess it's still a mix thing, but I'll take like a left-right EQ and say it's like a vocal or an element that I kind of want sitting somewhere wide, but not super wide and not mono. I'll put a left-right EQ on it, and I'll put like a random boost and 2 random cuts.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the 2 random cuts are on the right, and the boost is on the left. And so it automatically just goes like wide. It just
You could
goes
do that.
wide in like a weird
Have
way.
that thing kind of move slightly.
Exactly. Have it sweep throughout
Oh, sure.
Totally,
an
yeah.
8-bar section.
I love that with like a Rhodesy kind of
Yeah. So it's
like a
like-
very signy kind of a sound.
Right. You
To
can't
do some
identify
weird-
where it is,
Right.
but it's wide.
It's like weirdly
somehow.
wide
Yeah.
in a way.
That shit, the left-right EQ automation it's gross.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, it is a secret weapon.
Oh my God,
sure.
it really is. Yeah. Yeah. Just thinking about even outside of just one sound, playing with left or right in like your risers or impacts or little swooshies or little like more background elements that don't necessarily need to be center can be super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's say for instance, on your left channel, you could have some sort of like riser into your impact that like flies around the stereo field and hits you, and then on the right side it's a slightly different tone. And then maybe like the right side is doing some like auto pan flutter kind of thing, so you're getting like a kind of thing.
Right.
Or like I don't know, possibilities are endless.
Oh
You
yeah.
get very creative, and it's so
I like
cool.
that. I like that idea.
Yeah, it's fun. It's so much fun. Or you could have like the right side doing like 16th flutter on the auto pan, and the left side doing like 30 seconds or something. So they're both like very fluttery, I guess,
Right.
but like
Yeah,
in a different way.
movie.
Yeah, they're movie.
They're
To get really
They're
technical,
so movie.
they're so movie, dude. Look at how movie my riser is.
Restraint Music says sidechain sides completely on kick and snare on the master.
On the master.
Oh, that was a phase, huh?
Love it.
Yeah, it's a great move.
What he means by that, I'm assuming, is like your normal sidechain for your kick. Instead of just having it sterile and just ducking all audio out every time your kick happens, separate it out. So now you have one for mono and one
Well, it's
for
on the
sides.
master, so we're getting rid of what he'll do is like a transient like worth of ducking. Like
Right.
it's like a very quick little duck right on that kick or snare on the sides on the master. So it literally just makes it to where whenever the kick or snare hits, it's mono for a moment. Just a really quick moment. Not even the full kick or snare.
Right.
Just
Sure.
like a little
Yeah,
yeah.
that's clever. Yeah, because then everything's hitting mono, and then you get the stereo spread after it.
Right. Everything kind of
clever little trick.
balloons back out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gives you that like really clicky kind of emphasis
Right.
on those things. Make it feel a little more.
432 chimes in with autopan on cymbal layers. Has
Oh.
been super cool for me lately.
Fuck yeah, dude. Keep exploring that. That's a fun lane. Something I like to do
Yeah, that's
for
cool.
you could definitely use it on cymbals, but I lately don't use cymbals that much, so I'll use like a noise impact instead.
Shame on you.
I know, right? And then you can, like I was kind of saying earlier, you can like split them left and right and have them slowly go into the stereo field with different auto pan like
Speeds.
frequencies,
Yeah.
speeds, yeah. And you get like a cool like cinematic kind of like impact swish. But I'm
Yeah.
sure you can do it with cymbals. Probably sounds sick.
And then you dynamically reverb those
Sure.
with their own autopan on those.
Woo!
Wow.
And use the reverb throw we were talking about earlier. And
It's called
You're just
cooking.
instantly in the metaverse.
called
Yeah.
autopanception.
Oh.
yeah.
Autopanception.
Autopanception.
That actually just gave me an idea. You could take that concept and then do it like low, mid, high. So you have
Yep,
mid ones
yep.
doing like a slower one, and then the high ones doing faster, and they're all a different tone. So you have like 4 sounds fucking spreading out.
Someone was like, "What
Yeah.
is this?"
Well, let me tell you what I did with my.
Yeah.
And it literally happens.
Also,
It's like a 2-second moment where it's just like, you're like, did you hear the 7 different layers of autopan on that? Did you hear it?
it is stereo and it's mono side. Also,
It blew my mind.
it's multiband, so
yeah.
Yeah.
Just how we do over
it's
here.
pretty
dude.
amazing. It's
And every hertz is clipped differently.
Yeah.
Every single one. All 20,000.
Got my 20,000 band compressor.
yeah, like 20,000 band clipper. I want that.
It's
Give
not,
me
That is a
that.
thing.
it's not called a multiband.
Yeah,
It's
what
called
is it? John, what is
Every
it called?
Band.
Every band.
Every
On
band
every
clipper.
band.
Every band clipper.
That's a good name for it.
Melda has M auto pan and B multi. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen that one.
Yeah.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Shout out Melda.
Dude, Melda's slaying.
Melda.
They're not slaying the
She-
aesthetics game, but I think they'll get there.
She's a beautiful bitch.
2 episodes ago,
She's
folks,
got a big old
Dump truck.
we
That's
chatted about Melda for like a good hour with the old restraint music there. If you want to go check that out, it's a good episode. Lots of good
It's
info
on YouTube.
on
Always400.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
You know.
That's where all the things are at always400.com, baby.
Mm.
Well,
right.
do you guys want to pull one out of the hat?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got 15 minutes left here, so
All right.
If you got questions,
see what-
send them.
let's see
Yeah.
what we can do here.
start throwing some questions in the chat. We'll
Now
start.
you have to wait one whole week.
How many different drum options do you guys make when you're
What do you mean?
like writing a track and maybe you want like percussion? So you have your kick and your snare and your hi-hats, your basic things. But then you're like, I want to spice it up. How many different options do you make? Do you just like try one, delete it, try another one, delete it, try another one, delete it? Or do you like try one and then like just mute it, work on another one, try and get it? No,
Right.
work on another one, blah, 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 blah. Like what's your process? Or do you even have a process? Is it random?
Yeah, I don't know. I've learned my process is very fucking chaotic and abstract.
Sick.
Right.
Love to hear it.
And I'm trying to work on more of like the left brain approach, like a logical, more like, kind of thing. But for whatever reason, like it just comes more naturally to just like throw shit at the wall and see what sticks and like just play around until like some sort of vibe develops.
Right.
But typically I like to have like foundation elements, which would be kick, hat, snare. They're like the driving factor of the beat.
Sure.
And then the little saucy percussion bits
Right, okay.
on top, yeah. So that could be like shakers, bongos, drum fills, or more experimental percussive sounds that you've made or like whatever kind of thing. But those are important because they have to accent the foundation pieces. They can't be like
Right.
the lead. Well, I guess they could. You can definitely make it a lead.
Yeah, but at that point it loses its role as just percussion.
Yeah.
And now it's a lead.
Yeah, now
you
it's
know?
a lead, yeah.
Right. Like that one part of that
Skrillex
fucking
and
Skrillex
Joyride.
track.
Yeah, dude,
where
I
it's
think
just
about
like,
it every time. Yeah.
It's the most epic bongo solo
What
ever.
is it called? Again Wada.
Yeah,
Everyone
Again
after this
Wada.
podcast, go check out Again Wada,
Yeah, if you haven't heard that
AGEN WIDA. Yeah, there's
missing
this
out.
there's this
Again
part
Wada.
where they do a bongo drop. Fucking
Yeah.
NBD.
But-
Never heard anyone do it, and it's sick.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah, it's
really
so
gross.
fucked up.
What about you, Dave? How many drum options do you make?
I will have a kick or two, a snare or two, just right out of the gate early on. It'll be something like that, and then a few different percussion things. I like to have like a couple like little off noises happening,
Yeah.
and then like whatever the basic groove is for a hi hat, and a Usually we'll try and have some kind of a layer that's like a break or something like that. Something with a lot of like room noise on it to give
100%.
that kind of a vibe.
Do you kind of like EQ it a little bit so it's more in a box, or do you just let it breathe?
Yeah. I'm
Let it-
sure I do. I probably put it in a box of some sort.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not right out of the gate, but it's getting EQ'd
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, it's definitely-
it's getting a little
Getting
bit of
shaped.
it's probably more high end ish 1K and up than anything
I can see that.
specific, but also it's like
7K and
it's
down.
going to be quiet and like
Sure. It's
just there to be like a
it's like a floor.
Right.
Yeah.
It just helps fill the space in between the hi-hats.
Yeah.
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 It's just nice to have some.
Oh.
You need some kind of room in some way
The moment I
on
figured
everything
that out,
you do.
Mm-hmm.
the moment I figured out just to like leave like a not even very classy hi-hat or drum loop, just EQ it, turn it down and push it in the back. You're like, wow, my drums sound so much better. Just with this like little groovy element that's barely doing anything.
All of a sudden, they feel a
Yeah.
little bit more real.
Yeah, all of a sudden the drums are just like magic. You're like, whoa.
So how would you guys approach it if you didn't want to use a break and you wanted to, let's say, make it completely from scratch?
I would just make a break.
Just make another break and then
Yeah.
reverb it,
I've-
flatten it, and then push it in the back kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I've done it with Addictive Drums, but that's when you're feeling really sweaty. You're like, I'm gonna make Addictive Drums fucking break today, and it's like 4 hours later. Now I'm done making music for the day, but at least I have a break.
At least I have this one break. It sounds
Right.
dope.
Right.
Yeah, convolution's good.
Right.
For putting something in a box.
Yeah, because it can be hi-hats, and all you do is a little bit of convolution and EQ it, and now it sounds like a really dirty old
Yeah,
sample.
totally.
Yeah.
Or at least
Yeah.
if it fills that exact same role when it's pushed back.
Yeah.
Sometimes just like and I wouldn't suggest this as like the first thing you go to necessarily, because could be destructive very easily if you're not careful. Doing like a parallel compressed version of your entire drum rack just in that drum chain, just having all that shit going into a compressor that's getting EQ'd and distorted
pumped
and
too.
it's like really pumpy, it's distorted, it maybe it even has a slight reverb like buried underneath that already buried thing.
Right.
But that kind of thing will be really good. It's just you got to don't overdo that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll use the Good
It's
Hertz
touchy.
compressor for that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Good Hertz, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
It's like red.
What is that thing called, John?
I don't know that one.
Here, I'll pull it up. I guess that's the internet. We already had it.
Yeah, what is that one called? Wolf.
Wolf. Wow, I haven't
There
even
it is.
heard of that.
Red is restraint puts it in there. So this here guy.
Oh wait,
is-
actually, that's hilarious. I
this
do
thing
have
is-
this.
This thing is legit.
Is it?
It's
awesome.
It's got like wow and lo-fi and
Nice.
lo-fi and crunch and stuff that's not really necessary. Excuse me. But for squishing a little break or a hi-hat loop or even like just your drums in general, this thing's great. It's super nice. It's got a little high quality bid on it too, for over sampling.
That's fun.
But a lot of times I'll make my drums and they're pretty sparse. Just like kick, clap, hi-hat, and maybe like some off snares. And I'll just flatten that. And then I'll use that to like smush around and pump and stuff. And then I'll just put itself broken underneath the actual drum beat because it's just going to mesh so well. And that works 9 times out of 10, you know?
Yeah. One thing you want to pay attention to is that lo-fi noise is just going to be noise. So if you have a compressor going after this, you're going to get just like whenever nothing is happening on that channel, which is annoying to me. I guess it makes sense because people don't realize they should just put noise on things
Yeah.
when they're working, but like I don't like it when plugins add noise usually.
Right.
Yeah, me
Especially like
neither.
when everything's
I
stopped.
can add
and it's
noise.
Just yeah.
Like
Right.
I know how to do that.
Catch or sketch set? Yeah.
Yeah.
That,
right, exactly.
That one's like, it's got like 2 knobs that are good. All the other knobs just make it hiss. You're like, guys, that's not what it's all about here.
I do like the WoW. I use
Yes.
they have a separate plugin that is just like their WoW plugin, and it has like a more specific like it's just a warble, like it's like a pitch warble, like tape kind of effect,
Right.
which I like
Helps add some pitch RNG.
all the time. I love that.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I use more so than anything on my RC20 is just that. I just use the
wobble,
the wow and
pitch.
Yeah. Right.
what's the other thing other than
Flutter.
Flutter, that's it. Wow and flutter. I'll just use those, and that goes on like almost like hi-hats. Like I want the hi-hats to be moving.
Yeah.
In every facet, I want them moving in and out. I want them moving up and down, and that's just in the stereo field. Then I also want their pitch moving. I want their timbre moving. Like there's and you think of that and you fractal it out. And next thing you know, you got lots of work, but you got a really dope track.
Yeah.
It's kind of the keys to the castle there.
Dude, right?
You know.
And it's brutal because, like, the more you learn, the more you realize, like, oh, all these things are so sick to do to your track. But then you have this fucking mountain of things that you can do to your track that will make it sound better. And you have to put on the hat that's not being the lazy producer and commit to it.
Yep.
Or don't. I don't know.
Yeah,
still
you
get a sick
could.
track.
So in relation to your asking other ways to add that like noise layer, if you want to do it yourself, just noise.
Yeah, literally.
Noise is a great one.
Yeah.
You know, tape static, whatever. Make it wide, make it mono.
Yeah. A crowd,
Just
coffee shop, cars.
Vinyl,
whatever you
Crackle,
want. Yeah,
Vinyl.
exactly.
Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really matter. And
Yeah, I heard John ran into a bunch of these kind of samples.
yeah. Oh, well,
We
that's
might
good.
be able to snag one of these.
I got
Ooh.
I think I got a boatload from the Noisia Discord too.
Oh, those ones are
Oh,
Not too
nice.
long ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Fully
they're-
shit?
Yeah, they're a bunch of fully shit that
Wild.
Tice did with
Yeah.
another guy.
There's like a torch in
Sick.
there that
I
sounds
need these.
really
Yeah,
good
there's a
every
bunch
time.
of weird Foley in there. It's super cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, look at all this chat that just happened.
I know, right? Jesus.
Goo Hurts, yes, Goo Hurts.
Goo hurts.
Their
Dude,
plugins
that's,
are worth their weight. They're really good. But any kind of like that compressor in particular, you can achieve that with like the glue compressor in Ableton. You can still get some really good pumping on a drum layer and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But having multiple drum options to help fill out your drums, I think, is really important. Unless you're Liquid Stranger, then you can somehow get away with the same snare and kick the whole song, and it's the most interesting thing. I don't know
Dude.
how he does it,
Yeah.
but
Sometimes it works. One
Yeah.
way is just to start with a break. Use a break to find your groove, and then just use that break for your
right,
underlying noise.
that's what I've done as of the last like 5 years.
That's kind of what we started with, but
right. The hi-hat that I would normally bring in just to get a vibe, now so I keep it and it gets turned into a bed,
Right.
like 9 times out of 10. So that's your 2 cents.
those little things are so sick. The
Yeah.
little noise bits.
Right.
They add up.
You need them.
Mm-hmm.
It's digital music. It's gonna sound digital if you don't make it less digital in some way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Need that like
The speaker needs to be constantly
you
like
could go
moving
crispy
around.
digital randomly,
Right.
and then all of a sudden it sounds like wow, I got really clean right there. But usually that just sounds like a computer, which most people their ears aren't like ooh a computer.
Yeah.
Right.
They're like
Like, what is this
why
weird video
doesn't it
game
sound
noise?
normal anymore?
Yeah.
Right. But not only that, it
Where's
can
the
be
guitar?
it can be clean, and there's a bunch of gunk on the bottom
Right.
of the whole thing, but it's like everything's so crispy and precise.
Yeah.
Um,
You could fuck with sidechaining your like noise stuff if you wanted to like really make sure that it's getting out of the way of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
taking care of your transients helps a
Yeah.
lot. I find it funny. All you guys use the same microphone I use for my vocals.
Mm.
Oh, really?
Nice.
How do you know? Do you know that we're all even using the same microphone right now?
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun,
We
dun,
might be
dun,
playing tricks on you.
Oh, oh.
You'll never know.
You'll never know. You know why? Because that's the end of the episode.
Oh.
Go
Big
join the
sheesh.
Discord, guys.
Ladies
love
and
to
gentlemen.
hang out with you.
Yeah, this was a grand time. Thank you for everyone in chat today. This was dope.
You guys have been
We
great.
got some friends. We got some return customers. We got some fucking subs. There's
That's
like
right.
200 subs today. Can't even believe it.
We love you guys. We miss you already.
Yeah. Start your goat farm if you
Always
resonated with
400.
that segment.
And yeah, come hang out in Discord. We're in there. You can ask questions in there. We can chit chat, hang
Yep.
out. Yeah, guys, thanks for hanging out. We will see you next week.
Peace out, y'all.
Go to always400.com for all the goodies, the YouTubes, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we love you. We'll see you guys
Bye.
later.
Peace.
Bye.
Loud noises.